In 1997, Starship Troopers bombed, but somehow managed to become a cult classic. Would you like to know more?
This is I Pierce the Toast. I'm Sean.
And I'm AJ. Let's make some toast.
Welcome back to I Pierce the Toast.
Ooh, or IPTT if you're feeling spacey.
Spacey. Ooh, I thought you were going to say if you're feeling buggy.
No, because we're feeling... if you're feeling froggy, I guess, jump. But,
What if you're feeling buggy, though?
Yeah, I don't want to bug out, though. We got to record.
We do have to record. Yeah, no bugging out right now. I don't really know what's going on in the world, AJ, to be honest. I've been on call for the last week, and then before that, I was on what we call support. Ooh. And I have no idea what the fuck's going on. I've kind of still been following my politics on the side, where I just read my little email that I get every morning that like kind of catches me up on everything. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I have no fucking idea what's going on in the world. Like literally. The events of Starship Troopers could have fucking happened in the past week, and I would have no fucking idea. So if there's entertainment news, I'm fucking oblivious.
Before we get into entertainment news, I at least want to talk about what's going to go on with this channel or this podcast in general. You and I have sat down and had some discussions, and our Toasticles have already noticed that we said, hey, we'd be back next week, but it's been 2 weeks. We are going to start a bi-weekly release. Just moving forward, it makes it easier for both Sean and I's schedule. But
well, mostly it's just because of the new format. Because we're trying to create better content,
exactly,
as opposed to just kind of regurgitating the plot points of films that we love, which was fine for season 1, but for season 2 we're moving to a format where we say, you know what, let's actually find out about these movies. Let's hear more about what goes into the filmmaking. What are the interesting stories behind the camera? So with that, it takes a little longer. Yeah. And also, you and I do have what is that called?
Jobs?
Those. Yeah, we have those. So since both of us like to eat. We should.
I thought you were going to say procrastinate.
We like to do that too. me more so than AJ. There was the Oscars. I didn't watch it.
I watched some. To me, I already knew what was going to happen pretty much.
Oppenheimer was going to fucking sweep.
He's going to fucking sweep. So I was it's okay.
It's because like Deadpool 3, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm gonna enjoy watching it. But then there's a movie sometimes where I do know what's going to happen, and I'll still enjoy watching it. And then there's those movies where it's like I know exactly the fucking entire plot of this movie before even walking in there. There's no point. That was the Oscars.
The new Batman movie.
There's a new Batman movie?
No, that's how I felt.
Oh,
the first time I watched it, I was like, okay, this is great. Now every single time it's on, I'm like, I'm not gonna watch this.
Are we talking about glittery emo Batman?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
The one that you like.
Because it's film noir. It's taking Batman back to its fucking detective story roots. He's a detective, so he's out there detecting. And
let's talk about the elephant in the room as well. I mean, besides just the show that we're going to be moving forward with today, we have kind of come on the back end of podcast.
Oh,
yeah. We started pretty late, and don't get me wrong, I love being able to just put this on Spotify and everything like that. And for my own personal reasons, I'm like, I don't look the best on camera, but
he's lying.
Yeah, it's not true. It's
a delicious slice of fuckberry pie.
But we've realized that we are going to have to get with the fucking times and stop being old men and start actually putting video out there. So eventually, I'm not sure exactly when it's going to happen. We still got to work out the finer details and all that good stuff. But we will be moving to a video platform in the future.
I'm going to old man this even further. The way you're talking about us makes it sound like we're the old Ren and Stimpy or the old SpongeBob cartoon where they zoom in too far and he's been he hasn't slept in 3 days and he just there's stuff just dripping from his face and it looks just horrific. That's what you make it sound like we're going to look like on camera.
Yeah.
Jesus, man.
No, we're not that bad. Sean's definitely better looking than that. But
that's not true. I am significantly older and less wiser. But AJ, we're not here to talk about politics
or YouTube.
or YouTubes or TikTokums. Don't the thing you say. We are here to talk about Starship Troopers
or Helldivers.
Or what? Helldivers?
Yeah.
What's a Helldiver?
So this is the reason I wanted to talk about this to begin with.
Well, first of all, what are we talking about today, AJ?
We're talking about Starship Troopers, as is clear in the the cold open, which if you got the reference in the cold open, kudos to you, because it's a tie-in to the movie, and we'll get into what that comes from. But the reason that I really wanted to do this show recently, because I had actually thought about doing another movie called Surf Ninjas, which I really do want to do. I sat down, watched the movie, got super pumped, and then I started playing a game called Helldivers. Helldivers 2 is on the PS5, and I think it's on Microsoft, so like on the PC. But if you play the game, you will notice there is a very, very clear parody of this movie. They even do the "would you like to know more?" and the very gung-ho, like, you're going to be the citizen and you're going to defend all these people and you're going to get this and you're going to go blah. You're fighting bugs. You're in space. You're doing the exact same shit in Starship Troopers. This game is fantastic. And when you start playing it, you're like, hold on a second. Let me go back and watch the movie really quick and see how does this compare. That's kind of how this all started.
So the game is a parody of the movie.
Yes.
And the movie really became a parody of the book.
Yes.
And the book is a parody of
fascism.
Well, specifically fascist propaganda.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parody happening.
Yeah, it's a very meta parody.
Yeah, it's a very chain parody. Like we're just like we're on a parody train, if you will.
We're just gonna launch into talking about this movie. And to me, we've started doing this thing recently where we kind of give ourselves a question to answer. And if you've watched this movie, you understand it is in no way a cinematic masterpiece. There's plot holes.
I disagree wholeheartedly, but please continue.
You can disagree with your whole foot. I don't care.
Whole foot. Why is my foot involved in this?
I don't know. It's because it's there.
I saw your foot. That's that fucking
foot.
It's that foot.
There's terrible jokes, in some cases bad acting, and cheesiness galore. Hearing that, you must think that I really hate the movie. But au contraire, mon frere, I love this movie.
Au contraire, mon frere?
Yeah. When I think of my favorite 90s movie, this movie will always make the list. If you haven't seen this movie, let me give you a quick plot. And I've started doing this thing, and I don't know why, but I'm not going to give you a plot that really makes sense. It's like me just trying to spitball shit. So buckle up, Buttercup.
I mean, this is a wild ride so far. Like, we haven't even gotten to the plot, and I'm at the precipice of the fucking the roller coaster here, just like looking down, going, "This was a fucking terrible mistake. Why the fuck did I get on this thing?"
Sometime in the 23rd century, the entirety of Earth's population has now become a militaristic society, with the only path to citizenship being joining the military, putting on inefficient armor, and going to fight bugs in space.
So when you say the only path to citizenship, what does that mean from the film's perspective, just real quick?
Essentially, is within the film's perspective, you're going back to classic fascism where people can't vote. They really don't have the ability to be a part of society in a whole if they're not a citizen. So no voting, no babies, no none of that. You don't get the perks of being...
Gotcha. So it's just a way of dividing people and saying, to be considered part of the citizens and basically having the rights of the class, you have to serve in the military.
You have to serve in the military.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
But fighting bugs in space with terrible armor.
I thought the armor was quite fashionable for the day.
The main story focuses around 3 friends. 4, if you count Dizzy. They look way too old to be in high school.
Except for Neil Patrick Harris.
Oh, except he still kind of look too old.
He looks like high school age now. What are you talking about? The man is timeless.
It's timeless. We'll talk about a funny thing that happens with Neil Patrick Harris later. But they graduate from high school, and they all join the military. Johnny Rico goes to the mobile infantry to be a grunt. Carmen Ibanez, who Johnny loves, but she clearly was not on the same level, because there's a point in the movie where he's like, just try it on for size. Just say it once. She says, "I love you." And it's very awkward. So it's like, oh, okay. And she goes to the fleet to be a pilot. And then Carl Jenkins goes to the military intelligence to be a psychic asshole officer. Because he's psychic, he's an officer, he's a fucking asshole.
You mean Games in Theory?
Games in Theory? That's military intelligence. That's a quote from this movie. In boot camp, Johnny's previously mentioned friend Dizzy somehow ends up in the exact same unit. He gets dumped by Carmen, who moves on to some other guy that Johnny was worried about in the beginning of the movie. And after some unfortunate mishap, Johnny gets publicly whipped, decides, not for me, and attempts to wash out. But then his home city is destroyed by cockroaches on crack, and though no real character development, fully embraces the grunt life.
Where did the cockroaches get crack?
I don't know, but if you see these arachnids is what they're called in the movie, that's all that they can be. Crackroaches and crackroaches.
I think you just made a great new word. I love it. Crackroaches.
Cockroaches, spiders, and I guess praying mantises on crack. That's essentially what they are.
Fantastic.
After being declared KIA in a failed mission, Johnny joins the Roughnecks, led by his old teacher from high school, Bones Dizzy. His teacher and Dizzy die on a rescue mission to save an outpost on Planet P, where everyone else is already dead, and then he gets command of the platoon. There is a brief friend reunion where Carl tells Johnny and Carmen that there is a brain bug on Planet P that they need to capture. Carmen's ship gets blown up in space. She conveniently crashes into the cave where the brain bug is, which is kind of freaking hilarious, with her new bow, and then Johnny hears her on the radio and leads a rescue team to get them. Before Johnny can get there, the Stay Puft Marshmallow brain bug sucks out her new her new bow's brains. Carmen is rescued after slicing off a very personal member of the brain bug's anatomy, and after escaping the cave, they find out that the bug was captured, and everyone celebrates with Coco.
Everyone celebrates with Coco, huh?
That's pretty much the movie in a nutshell. There's a lot more that obviously goes into it, but I was like, we're not going to do what we used to do. I'm not writing down this entire fucking plot. So you know what? That's what you get. You get Coco and inefficient armor. That's what the fuck you get. And when I was thinking of covering this movie, I thought, why do I even like this movie?
I'm going to go with Dizzy. That's my answer.
I was more of a Carmen person.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're more of Denise Richards than
Dina Meyer?
Dina Meyer, all the way. I follow her on Instagram, and what is she, like 45?
She's got to be older than that.
Really? Wow, because she looks 30. Like, she looks amazing. Anyway, go on.
In other movies from the same year, it's not even close to the best. With The Fifth Element, Anastasia, Titanic, Air Force One, Men in Black, and Lost Highway to compete with, you can see why it didn't do so well initially.
I heard the jab, you fucker. You're never gonna let me forget that I made you watch Lost fucking Highway.
We're fucking covering this movie at some point, and we're gonna trash this shit.
You're goddamn right we are. We're gonna trash every fucking film, bro. It's like, oh no, you just don't understand that it's now. What I don't understand is how you fucking watch that movie and didn't immediately try to fucking murder the director. It was shit. It was a big pile of shit.
When I saw the list of the movies that came out in the same year, I was like, oh, that's probably why it didn't do so well. But then delving into this more, you could see that there were other factors that influenced this. On a $105 million budget, it only made $121 million. A mere $16 million profit, which we've already discussed in the past, makes it just short of a bomb when it comes to Hollywood's terms. If you don't make at least double your money, I think it's still a bomb.
This movie cost $105 million to make? Jeez.
The CGI and the effects that they had, it makes sense.
I mean, sure, but Jesus fucking Christ.
Critics hated this movie, with some, including Sean's favorite Roger Ebert, jumping on the hate train. So again, I ask, why do I, and a multitude of others, like this movie so much, putting it in the same cult classic category as Pulp Fiction, A Clockwork Orange, and Fight Club?
Yeah, it's a weird category to be putting that in with.
Yeah.
It's not even, like, those three I can see in a category together. But then when you're like, oh, and Starship Troopers is here too, you're like, what the fuck are you doing here, Clem Fandango?
Just keep bringing it back. I heard about this character for the first time today, and he's mentioned it, I would say, at least every 10 minutes.
Thank you, Matt Berry. Go on.
To answer this, I guess we really need to state what makes a cult classic. To figure out what is needed for classifying this, I turned to the great Googly machine for help and was able to come up with these criteria.
Great Googly machine, Jesus fucking Christ. Is your entire fucking script today just filled with this shit? Because I don't know if I can I'm just going to laugh my ass off.
That's essentially what it is.
Jesus fucking Christ. Goddamn stand-up bit over here.
So you need unconventional storytelling and subversive themes, unique aesthetic and style, iconic characters and memorable dialogue, and passionate fan engagement. We're going to go into the different categories that it has, and we're going to say why it meets these or why I think it didn't meet it. But honestly, they met all these fucking criteria, so it is a cult classic. For our first trait, the unconventional storytelling and subversive themes, I can definitely say that this movie has that.
Yeah.
Starship Troopers definitely leans into the militaristic and fascist theme, and even goes so far as to show propaganda clips throughout the movie. These segments, I think, are what might have turned critics into thinking that these were supposed to be serious, but you can clearly tell that these are parodies.
Are you suggesting that those clips were doing their part?
They were doing their part. For the people that got that these were not in any way, shape, or form supposed to glorify this line of thinking, these clips are hilarious. In one of these clips, a group of kids are shown doing their part by squashing bugs with the mom laughing maniacally. When you look at the propaganda portion of this movie, I can see where if you weren't going into it thinking this was satire, you're like, oh no, this is just glorifying propaganda. Because they push it out a lot. They usually show some type of propaganda clip before they move into a main screen or a main sequence. And I guess that really didn't sit well with some of the audience and the critics.
It makes me wonder, what year was this made?
1997.
And that's what I thought you said, 97. And I know, 2001, we had that, god-awful event take place.
Yes.
But then shortly after that, there was a lot of push for people to join the military. Mm-hmm. And, those years aren't far apart. We're talking a matter of, 6 years here. And it's just making me wonder, like, were we just... Because obviously, I don't know about you. I watched the film and was like, okay, this is obviously propaganda that they're trying to do. That's the theme of this. This is pretty clear. But were we as a nation just kind of numb to it at this point because we had already been through so much of it? I mean, hell, even in World War II, we got a lot of, we don't want to think of it that way, but we got a lot of American war effort propaganda. Mm-hmm. Like, join the effort. You can be part of the team. Yada, yada, with the whole transatlantic accent. And it just makes me wonder, is that why so many people miss the fucking point?
I think so.
Interesting.
I think they saw it and went, oh, this is real propaganda. They're really trying to push some ideology. And that's not what they were going for. The book, from what I understand, I have not got a chance to read the entirety of the book. I've read some of it. But from what I understand, the book itself is still satire of propaganda and fascism and everything like that.
And it's very much more heavily focused on the character of Rico as his involvement within this process versus kind of what, this weird thing we see in the film happening. But
I personally think it played well on screen, but for an audience in the 90s, maybe they just weren't open to it. I don't know.
And like, from what you're saying and what we've discussed prior to, recording, it sounds like maybe we just as an audience as a whole, like, I'm not even going to say, like, exclude myself from this because I also was like, God, this movie's kind of dog shit, right? Maybe we just didn't fucking get it.
That's what I think.
It's weird to think that because it seems like just a dog shit movie, but maybe it did exactly what it was supposed to fucking do, and we just weren't ready to get the point, and that's why it has a cult following, because nowadays we're looking back going, holy shit, that movie they were really trying to fucking show us, like, hold a mirror up and go, hey, this is you, America. Take a fucking look. This is what you're like. Because fuck me, did we not head in that direction in the next 6 years?
The movie tackles fascism with director Paul Verhoeven, who did RoboCop, Total Recall, and Basic Instinct. Yeah, he did all of it.
It's just funny because it's like this movie very much had, and also fucking Michael Ironside
is in it, yeah. Well, also, Marshall Bell's in it, too.
Which one's Marshall Bell?
He was the general that was like, we're all gonna die.
Who's he in the other films?
He played Kato.
Oh, he was Kato. Oh, yeah. That's right. Yes, Kato.
Yeah.
Start the reactor.
So it's just funny that we're gonna talk more about that when we go into the casting and everything like that. But he did RoboCop, which also deals with, like, it's not really militaristic. It's more authoritarian when it comes to
I wouldn't even say authoritarian because it's the it's a company. What is it called? Like, there's a word for that where the company is basically like running everything.
Yeah, I forget what the term is.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, though, right? I can't remember what it is either, but it's basically like it's a dystopian existence very similar to authoritarianism, but instead of one leader running everything that's government oriented, it's a corporation and they collectively run everything.
Corporatocracies.
Corporatocracy. Thank you. Yeah. Yes.
The director used his own first-hand experience of growing up in a Nazi-occupied Netherlands to show the dangers of fascism. Apparently, he did this just a little too well, as he and writer Edward Neumeier, who did RoboCop and Anaconda's The Hunt for the Blood Orchid, which, if you've ever seen that, it's not the best movie, but it's the sequel to the first Anaconda movie. They were both accused of sympathizing with the Nazi ideal. He used the Nazi eagle coat of arms and the Italian black shirt logo to create different icons for the Federation, which, when you really look at them, you can plainly see which ones favored each different icon or logo. One of the big ones is like the Federation logo has an eagle on the front, and that is clearly in reference to the Nazi eagle. I think that the people that truly like this movie were able to see the movie for what Verhoeven was going for. A parody that pokes fun at the ridiculous ways that people can be swayed into thinking how an empowered government wants them to think, and how easy it is to fall into this way of thinking when that's all you see. Do you want rights? Well, you have to be a citizen. To be a citizen, you have to serve. To serve, it's our way or the highway. So once you serve, you get reinforced that same mentality of you have to do this for the Federation. When you can separate what is supposed to be serious and what is supposed to be poking fun, it becomes an incredibly enjoyable film to watch, which it seems, at least initially, people weren't able to do, but as time went on, others were able to go back and watch the movie and go, oh, this is what they meant. And I think that's what helped it become that cult classic. Now, I'm not going to delve too deep into this because, as we've mentioned before, we are a movie podcast, not a political podcast, but there is absolutely no way to talk about this movie without discussing this topic. Now we're going to move on to our second point, which is the unique aesthetic and style. And this movie has it in spades.
Yeah, it's got fucking style, baby. Yeah, it does.
From the outfits to the backdrop, this movie clearly had one goal. Make it shiny, make it uniform, and make it sexy.
Shiny and chrome?
Yeah, shiny and chrome.
Yeah.
Witness me.
Witness me.
Looking at just the costumes, other directors must have thought that they looked good as well, because you can see the same armor used in this movie, in Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, and Firefly.
Fuck off.
Yeah. Shit you not. They use the exact same armor.
Get fucked.
The architecture the humans have in their society is very sleek and very shiny, which is a direct contrast to the barren wastelands that the planets from the planets that arachnids inhabit. You can almost say that the entire conflict between the species were just due to different styling opinions. The film was shot in Los Angeles, California, Hell's Half Acre in Wyoming in the Badlands, and the Badlands of South Dakota, using CGI and practical effects, which practical effects, if you don't know what they are, it's just fake blood, costumes, models, etc. Basically, the things that are not CGI are all practical effects.
Interesting, okay.
The filmmakers were able to show the differences between the two groups, and to me, it plays very well on screen, and it still holds up to this day, which was, I think, something that also helped boost this into the cult classic aspect of everything. Because when you watch it, you see this weird dichotomy between the humans and the arachnids, and you're like, oh, well, these people are very brought up, they're very smart, or they think that they're very smart, and they have all these weapons, and they have all this firepower, and bam, boom, it's sexy. Young people are joining the military, they're having relations with each other, and it's great, it's wonderful. And then you see the arachnids, and everything that they have is very barren, and it's very bleak, but they are winning against the humans. It's very clear. And being able to show that on screen, that you really don't need that much to succeed, at least against these humans, was pretty good to see. I don't know if that's really what they were going for, but to me it was like, oh, I think that's what they were really trying to go for. You don't need all this shit. Just be who you are. Be who you want to be. Barbie.
Well, you really found a positive message in this.
Yes, I did. So that's all I'm going to talk about with the unique aesthetic and style, because I'm not, as my fiance will tell you, I'm not the biggest person when it comes to style. I can recognize it.
You are a fashionista extraordinaire.
That's a lie. I wear fucking hey dudes and hoodies. I don't know what the fuck
and that is a call to fashion choice. All right, that is a choice.
That is a choice. Next, we're going to talk about iconic characters in dialogue, which this movie does hit a home run, for some, with characters' dialogue and the iconic characters. First, let's go through the actual cast really quick and touch on the iconic characters, which might surprise you of who I chose for the iconic characters.
All right, let's have it.
First, you have Casper Van Dien as Johnny Rico. You will know him from Sleepy Hollow. He played Ron Van Brunt in Sleepy Hollow. He was also in One Life to Live as Ty. And apparently, and I did not know this, was in a deleted scene in Rules of Attraction as none other than Patrick Bateman.
Wait, Patrick Bateman shows up in Rules of Attraction?
In a deleted scene.
The James Van Der Beek movie?
Yes, the one with... No, what are you talking about? Yeah. James Van Der Beek.
James Van Der Beek, yeah. Where, like, it's him and the girl from Knight's Tale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Patrick Bateman was...
There was a deleted scene where apparently Casper Van Dien played Patrick Bateman.
Is it part of the same, like, book series or something?
I have no idea.
What the fuck?
Just reading into this, I was like, you mean fucking American Psycho Patrick Bateman?
Yeah, that's what I thought you were talking about. Like, that's okay. All right. Maybe it was the same author and we just don't know. I don't know. I'm not
I didn't look into it.
I'm not looking it up. Fuck it.
Now, next up, we have Dina Meyer as Dizzy Flores. We have talked about Dina Meyer before, but she was in Bats as Sheila, and she was in Saw as Allison Carey, which we did mention the Saw movies before.
We did.
Yeah,
that's
we
right.
did cover them.
That's right.
We have Denise Richards as Carmen Ibanez. She was in Undercover Brother as White She-Devil.
I was sitting there thinking, like, of all the fucking movies Denise Richards has been in, because she has had an exemplary and vast career. Is like, he's gonna fucking mention Undercover
Yes,
Brother.
I fucking am. Yes, I am, because I love that movie.
Just remember, AJ, behind every great black man is a nice butt.
It's a nice butt.
Because at least that's what Denise Richards said.
She was also in The World Is Not Enough, a James Bond movie, as Christmas Jones. Yes.
That's right. She was the scientist.
Yeah. We have Jake Busey, who is the son of the eccentric Gary Busey, as Ace Levy. And Jake Busey was in The Frighteners as Johnny Charles Bartlett, Identity as Robert, and unfortunately, he is going to be... I'm not going to say unfortunately that he's in it, but unfortunately, as what has now transpired on this set, he is actually going to be in that movie Rust as Drum Parker. For those that are unaware, if you have not read on this movie, there was a unfortunate incident where Alec Baldwin pointed a gun, a prop gun, at another actor, fired, and unfortunately the gun was loaded and killed someone.
I'm going to shorten that for you. Alec Baldwin killed somebody.
Yeah, Alex Baldwin killed a guy.
Yeah,
but it's actually a woman.
Yeah, Alec Baldwin killed a guy. Well, he killed a woman, but
apparently the props or the props director or whatever the hell it is.
The props person is going to be the person that's
getting in trouble.
The fall. Which is, honestly, it's fucked up because he's the producer. You know, it's like,
exactly.
No, he's responsible. But at the end of the day, this gets into a whole discussion about even using those types of weapons on set, because most safety coordinators for films have been very adamant about moving away from using those types of prop guns on set and just using basically like fake guns and then doing everything in post, which I completely agree with. I think it's just a safer way to go. You know, whether we're talking about Brandon Lee or talking about this new film Rust, there are too many examples of performers getting hurt because of these type because of this type of negligence that is so easy to allow to happen. It is so easy for it to happen.
It's so easy to prevent as well.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's the
Just
problem.
Stop fucking using it and do it in post. Like, with all the technology we have, it is so easy to do it in post. You're not robbing the audience of anything by doing it in post.
So moving on from Rust, because that's not what this episode
Sorry,
is about.
I'm very passionate about the whole Rust thing. Go on.
We're going to talk about Neil Patrick Harris as Carl Jenkins.
Finally. Yes.
He was in How I Met Your Mother as Barney. He was in Doogie Howser as Doogie. Now,
Doogie Howser, MD.
Now, what's actually pretty funny when we talk about the style, aesthetic, and the theme of the movie, how it's fascism and everything like that, the higher echelon in the military world in this movie, they wear outfits that are very, very reminiscent of Nazi generals.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He has this outfit.
Yeah, his was like super fucking like, wow, that's Third Reich shit right there.
Apparently, they called him Doogie Heimler.
What? How did he respond to that?
I don't fucking know. I just thought it was hilarious.
Oh, dear God.
He was in Harold and Kumar as himself. And then he was also in Undercover Brother as Lance.
Oh, that's right. He was the intern. Because I still remember what's there going. Shit, man. Affirmative action. What do you want? Uh-oh, it's about to get all racial up in this piece. Fucking God, Neil Patrick Harris. Jesus.
It's just funny to me that this is a very star-studded cast, but the people that were heading this movie up, like Casper Van Dien, their careers didn't advance nearly as far as, like, Neil Patrick Harris. Yeah. I just think that's always kind of interesting. Next up, we have Clancy Brown as Sergeant Zim. He was in Shawshank Redemption as Byron Hadley, the fucked up officer that almost throws Andy off the building. He was in John Wick as the Harbinger, and he was also in The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, which is one of my favorite movies because it's just very odd.
Well, it's just a collection of stories.
Yeah,
it's neat. Yeah.
It's funny. I like it. As Surly Joe, I was like, oh, that's him. That really is him.
Nah.
We have a Seth Gilliam as Sugar Watkins. He was Father Gabriel in The Walking Dead. He was Dr. Alec Deaton on Teen Wolf, and he was in The Wire as Ellis Carver. I recognize him more, I'm not going to lie, from Teen Wolf. As soon as I saw him on screen, I was like, oh shit, he's in Teen Wolf.
The show or the movie?
The show.
Gotcha.
Then we have Patrick Muldoon, who I honestly don't know from anything else. As Xander Barkaloff, who I was mentioning earlier, plays the beau that got his brain sucked out. He was in Days of Our Lives as Austin Reed, which is... the reason I put this in here is apparently he went on like a hiatus for a while and then returned to the role after like 12 or 16 years and came back to the same role. I was like, that's interesting. I've seen Days of Our Lives. I used to watch it with my mom all the time.
So and they soap opera, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They consistently recycle characters and they're always played by other people. So it was just funny to see him come back to that. Then we have the great Michael Ironside.
Hell yeah.
As John Ratchek. He was in Total Recall as Richter. He was Jester in Top Gun. And then in one of my favorite movies, Free Willy, he was the antagonist Dial.
Really?
Yeah.
Free Willy.
You know,
the great Michael Ironside, and you're going to bring Free Willy into this bitch.
Here's the fucking thing. I'm leading this podcast right now. This is my episode. I'm going to put the fucking things that I like. What do you like, Sean? What was your favorite Michael Ironside film?
Total Recall,
I don't care,
obviously.
because I'm fucking leading this fucking episode.
You free your Willy, AJ. Let your Willy run free.
No, we can't do that nowadays. Especially when we go to video.
Especially when we go to video. Fuck, I can't believe I just missed that joke. Go on, you bastard.
So we have the last of the main cast before I just move into some of the notable cameos are Marshall Bell, who we mentioned earlier, as General Owen. He played George or Cato in Total Recall. And then he was in the movie Twins as the Hitman Webster.
Oh, okay. Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. Nice.
I just like that there's a line in this movie where he's like, I got my driving shoes, I got my driving gloves, I even got my driving hat, but I don't have a car. I just think it's funny. Some notable cameos in this movie. Rue McClanahan.
Rue McClanahan? From Golden Girls?
Yeah, as Blanche.
What?
She was the blind teacher.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, there's a scene in there where they're dissecting bugs and she's going into how...
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yes. Fuck.
Yeah.
Rue McClanahan.
People know that I fucking love the Golden Girls.
Saucy Minx, God love you.
We got Eric Bruscotter, who was in Desperate Housewives. Anthony Ruvavar, who is in Beware the Batman. He played like Batman in there. He was I forget the character's name in the movie. But he's like the guy that is like, I want to go to Harvard, but then his father wouldn't pay for it, and then he gets killed in like 2 seconds. Gotcha. There's a lot of people that die in this movie. Pretty much everyone I've mentioned dies. Never mind. I guess only 3 of them. Well, I mean, 4 of them die.
Rue McClanahan, yeah.
Well, she dies too, for sure. In this movie.
Because of the attack on Buenos Aires, yes.
And then the last one I'm going to mention is Dean Norris. He was in Breaking Bad. He played... if you've seen the show, he plays Heisenberg's brother-in-law.
Okay.
He is
the guy that was in the commish.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
He was just one of the, I think it was like a sergeant, or I forget what his rank was in this movie, but he was the one that was at boot camp. He was the one that was leading it, that had to actually put the lash to him.
Oh, he was the drill instructor.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Not the drill instructor, but the one above the drill instructor. The one that was actually leading the academy.
Oh, he's the camp commandant or something like that.
Essentially.
Yeah.
So when it comes to iconic characters for this movie, I think it boils down to just two.
Just two. Okay.
Just two.
All right.
First one is Johnny Rico.
Of course.
I think that Casper Van Dien nailed who Johnny was supposed to be in the movie. He already had the sports star background, being captain of the football team in high school, as well as having attended military school, which really added the realistic, quote-unquote, portrayal of a spoiled, aimless kid to hardened military leader. Now, I just ordered the book this movie is based on, and I never really got a chance to read it, like I said earlier. But I can't really say if he really nailed the novel's version, but I can say in the direct-to-video sequels that they have, they didn't even put the character in the movie because they didn't want to detract from who he was in this. And all aside from one of these movies actually has Casper Van Dien doing the voiceovers or playing his character again because he's so iconic to that role. I think it's pretty great having the friendly ghost portraying him. How you did it there.
I see what you did there. Yeah. Nice.
And apparently Casper has embraced being synonymous with his role. He's really engaging with his fans, and he really speaks of his gratitude to the fandom for being able to be part of this movie. And the reason that I think Johnny is so iconic for this movie is that from the point you see him initially, you can see character development. It's not the best character development because the way that they do it is they really just try to shape him into being a grunt for the military, and they do a very good job of that. He starts off questioning things, and he's like, I really don't know what I want to do. And he didn't really want to be a part of the military. At one point, he tries to leave, and then he immediately goes back into it. And at the very end of the movie, you see he is fully for the Federation.
Yep.
And it's without having that kind of character development in the movie, and without having someone that you can really go to and say, this is Starship Troopers, I really don't think there's anyone in the movie that could be as iconic as he was. The other one is going to come as kind of a surprise. Ratchak. He's the other iconic character. That's Michael Ironside's character.
Okay, gotcha. I agree. No, that doesn't surprise me at all. When I think about that movie, yeah, I remember everybody that's in it, but I obviously Johnny Rico, the main character, and then mostly I think about Ironside's character because he is the one that encourages and develops Rico's character from beginning to end. So no,
exactly.
That totally makes sense.
Apparently his role as mentor to Johnny in this movie actually translated to him mentoring Van Dien as well. So they had a relationship where Casper has said, sometimes when I'm acting, I hear his voice in my head,
That's
kind
awesome.
of telling what to do.
That's cool.
And when I think of this movie, and the reason that he's my other iconic character, is that one of the lines that sticks out to me the most is, everyone fights, no one quits. You don't do your job, and I'll shoot you. In that moment, when you watch him on screen, you know exactly what he meant, and he meant what he said. And the characters in the movie know exactly what he says. They know exactly what he means.
And the actors on set knew that Michael Ironside would actually do it,
He would actually do it. Now, Ratchak is first seen as like a one-armed, sympathetic teacher. And then later on, he's a veteran of the Federation. You see that his arm is gone because of some service that he was in.
He's got an arm off.
And Johnny asked him, what should he do? And he's like, look, make your own decisions and stop letting others choose your path for you. And I was like, okay, that's great. Then you see him again when Johnny is back in the military and he's going to be like for the Federation, but he's not fully invested yet. Whenever he comes back in, you see him as this badass with a metal hand after losing his family in the bug attack. You see him leading this group of people that are committed to him. So seeing him earlier as a sympathetic character, now you see him as someone that you're like, oh, I need to root for this character. He treats his platoon well and he takes no shit. And that reinforces to Johnny that that's someone that he wants to be. So since Michael had already worked with the director previously on Total Recall, Verhoeven already knew that he had the chops to portray this character authentically. And I think he fucking nailed it. Rico's journey into finding out who he is would not be possible without the character of Ratchak. Ratchak, even his own line, everyone fights, no one quits, you do your job and I'll shoot you. Johnny takes that later on whenever he leads the platoon. Whenever he starts thinking about how he wants to lead, he literally becomes almost a clone of Ratchak. So without the duality here, without the two different characters that to me are one, you wouldn't have such iconic characters. I mean, we could make an argument for Dizzy, Carl, Carmen, or hell, even Zim, but you could take them out of the movie and it would still
Agreed.
be the same movie. You take Johnny out, obviously he's the main fucking character, but if you took Ratchet out,
No, you wouldn't have the same movie because you wouldn't have that person that's developing Johnny's character.
he becomes Rico. Like, he was Johnny and now he's Rico. He has Rico's Roughnecks, which were just a play on what Ratchet had earlier with Ratchet's Roughnecks. And to me, like I said, I think these are the only two iconic characters that you need. And whenever you think about this movie, that's really all I ever see. Ratchet, Johnny, Rico. So that's a very long-winded way of saying that this does have iconic characters, but you don't need all the rest of them. Don't get me wrong. I like the other characters. I like, Doogie Heimler, but whatever. Now, the last thing that we have is passionate film engagement. If you've been following this season and listened to the Fifth Element episode, you will know that I feel that fans can make or break a film. If the fan base isn't there, a series is going to die.
With it's Firefly, and then it doesn't matter either way.
6 seasons in the
movie. 6 seasons. No, that's Community. 6 seasons in a movie.
With this film, fans have gone so far as to become so invested that they've created their own theories about the movie, which are highly debated online, such as the overpopulation theory.
Okay.
So the
like that. This whole thing was just a ploy to scale back an overpopulation problem.
Yes, that they just basically threw young people at it to get rid of some of the population.
Interesting.
There's also the asteroid theory. The asteroid theory was that there was no asteroid that actually hit Earth, and that the military was the one that bombed Buenos Aires to get them to fight the bugs.
Gotcha. Okay. That one would actually make sense.
My favorite theory, though, is, and these are all fan theories, like this is nothing that came from the actual book itself. My favorite theory is the one that Carmen actually started the war with the Arachnids.
Carmen started the war?
Yeah. Think about this. There's a scene in the movie where Carmen flies this giant ship, and there's an asteroid coming their way.
Oh, right.
And she flies, but when she flies under the asteroid, she actually hits it with the ship, the top of the ship, which would alter the trajectory of the asteroid.
Interesting. See, now that is a fun theory, because that could be plausible.
And when she clipped the ship and when the asteroid hit Earth, she was responsible for starting the war. Because the asteroid may not have hit Earth.
Way the fuck to go, Denise Richards. God damn it.
But there's also a diabolical side that people say that she did that on purpose.
Well, that's just fucked up.
They're saying that she hit it on purpose and she knew the trajectory would go to Buenos Aires. It's pretty great, but this is what I'm talking about.
I would only buy that if she were smart enough to have been in Games in Theory.
Oh.
See what I did there? Because only Doogie Heimler was smart enough for that.
But this is what I'm talking about. With some movies that don't reach that cult film status, you don't have the fan engagement to this level of people debating their own theories about what possibly happened. That doesn't always happen with movies. But whenever you have people doing that, you keep the buzz going on the movie. And now there's even a specific TikTok that is out that is adding interest to this.
Oh, is this the one where I didn't do shit?
Yes, I didn't do shit. So it's funny because it's like, I'm doing my part. I'm doing my part. I'm doing my part. I didn't do shit. So if you've seen if you've seen that TikTok, it's adding fuel to people like, what is this movie? So it brings people back into it. And then you have fans jumping on that and saying, oh, you have to watch this movie. You have to watch this movie. And now you have the game Helldivers, like I mentioned earlier, which is intended to parody this movie, which is also helping the fans fan the flame, and they're starting to see comparisons, and people are starting to flock to where this movie came from. And apparently, they're talking about rebooting this movie.
That would not surprise me at all.
With all of the buzz generating around this, with certain things going on in the world, with certain ideologies and all of that, it makes sense.
It's definitely an apt time for it. Also, we've talked about reboots before and how we're kind of like, oh, fuck, we're doing a little too much. But then, I don't know about you, I just watched the X-Men 97, which is basically just it's not rebooting, it's continuing. But did you watch it?
I've not seen 97 yet.
Okay, watch those two first, then go back and watch a couple of the old episodes as well, because it's also right there on Disney+. And the absolute jump in animation style, in quality, it's incredible. And it just made me realize, wow, sometimes when we're rebooting, I think we fail to realize how much more we're able to do with the next generation of it. So whereas with Starship Troopers, it's awesome to watch. Now imagine what we could do with that film today,
Exactly.
and especially with the same budget. With that budget, oh dear God, we could got the possibilities are limitless with what we could do with Starship Troopers. So I'm not saying, like you and I have said before, we're not necessarily always a huge fan of those, but now would not necessarily be the worst time for a Starship Troopers reboot.
I think it definitely needs it because, like I said, I think I've actually seen them all the fucking sequels of Starship Troopers. They're not the best. The third one is definitely wonky. I actually watched the premiere of this movie when I was younger.
Wonky is the nicest thing you could possibly say.
I was
about
so
that
excited
movie.
for this fucking movie.
So,
but I mean, they're good. They are good, kind of.
No,
but this movie really needs for you to take, because the book is a series. There's
Yes.
a couple of different books.
There is.
I do know that later on his dad apparently comes back. Like his dad didn't die in Buenos Aires.
Wow, I did
and
not
he
get that
goes
far.
and he joins the military, and Rico runs into him later in the series. But there's so much that they can do that right now, because of where this series has gone, they're kind of stagnated. They can't.
If they bring
can't
it
do this.
back, I would appreciate if they actually bring in the suits.
Yes,
Because that's a big thing in the book that they don't touch on at all in the first movie.
No.
They don't that's not even a part of it. And those suits were so important. Like it was very important to not necessarily to the story itself, but they spent a lot of time in the book describing the suits, the mechanics, the physics, the purpose, the functionality. They spend so much time on it, and then they just completely ignore it in the film, and that always bothered me about the
They brought
film
it back
was-
in the third one.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
But if they're going to reboot it, that would be my biggest thing is put the focus that the author intended on the function of the suits and make sure those suits are there. I know it's harder to do. It's going to, but like hell, if we just had a Halo done, you can fucking do this.
I think they could easily do that. I mean, look at the movie with Tom Cruise.
Exactly. Yes. Because they're very similar to that. That's
Yeah.
literally, that's almost exactly what those suits kind of reminded me of. In the description of the book was the what the fuck is that movie where he keeps going back in time?
I keep forgetting.
Oh my
what
God.
the movie is.
David
It's
Tom
actually
Cruise.
a good. I mean, I like the movie.
Oh no, I actually really enjoyed it. Yeah.
It's not going to win any Oscars, obviously, but it was a good movie.
Edge of Tomorrow. Okay.
Edge of Tomorrow. That's the name of that movie. But whatever case that may be, they were missing the cybernetic suits in this movie that they did have in the books. So we're going to wrap this up, guys. We've established this movie has all the qualities of a cult film, which answers one of my questions. But what about the other? Why do I rank this movie so high? Personally, couldn't fucking tell you. I don't. After watching it again this week, I don't know why I like this movie so much.
It's campy and fun. Like here it is. Here's a fucking parody of a book about fascism. And yet somehow they just I'm doing my part. They made it fun.
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh man, fascism is bad, but this movie's kind of making me think that there might be some fun parts of
There's
it.
a shiny and crow.
Right?
No, but
that's what it was. It was very. They put a lot of camp into the movie. I mean, there's an entire scene where fucking Michael Ironside's bringing out balls and stuff for people to play with, and then
you have fun. Here's the beer.
Yeah, Busey breaks out the thing, and
violin,
and the violin, and then Dizzy and Rico go off and have some fun in a tent, and it's like just things that make in the middle of a war zone that makes no sense. Like, I'm sorry, they could be attacked at any minute. You need to have people on the ready, and it was ridiculous. It was fun. Yeah, it was just a fun movie.
So maybe it's nostalgia, maybe it's my penchant for cheese, maybe it's Maybelline. But I think there's a point to make here. It isn't just one reason, there's multiple. This movie continues to find a new audience, and I personally, I can truly say, because I've seen all these fucking movies, I'm truly glad to be a part of the fandom.
Well, thank you, AJ. I'm glad you did this movie. This is a lot of fun. So AJ, where can we watch this movie?
Okay, so right now you can watch it on MGM Plus, YouTube, Sling TV, Amazon Prime, YouTube TV. All these things, though, are going to require a premium subscription. You can also watch them online if you have the means and the know-how. So I'm just saying.
All right, then. Well, our music is created by Augusto Denise, logo by Design World, social media by the future Mrs. Lieutenant AJ Rico, mixing and editing by IPTT Studios.
And we want to hear from you in your own slice of toast. Tell us about the films you think we and others should see, actors to showcase, or topics to discuss. You can reach us on Instagram at IPTT_podcast. Oh, and also TikTok, apparently. Email us on IPTTpodcast@gmail.com or interact with us directly through Spotify. And keep a lookout for the YouTube.
And if you ever find yourself fighting an army of bugs next to Michael Ironside as part of a propaganda-driven war by the government of Buenos Aires, which is full of very white English-speaking people for some reason, remember,
you can always know more toast.
See what you did there? Thanks for listening.
This is for you new people. I only have one rule. Everyone fights, no one quits. If you don't do your job, I'll shoot you. You get me.
We get you, sir!